It's always magical when a sequel is coming up. People are finishing off their projects, people are putting the finishing touches on things. And here I am starting a completely new project that, seeing as Planet Coaster 2 is going to be releasing pretty soon, is going to have to be done within a month. So yeah, welcome to a park that doesn't really have a name yet. The working title I've been using is Smart Park, because I wanted to keep this small and attainable, and those two words might ring a bell for some of the students among you. SMART is a abbreviation used to set certain goals, and I'm not sure what the English words are that fit into the abbreviation, but it's something like specific, measurable, attainable would be one. I don't know what R would be. Realistic, maybe? And something about time. Basically, it's this framework to make sure that you don't set loose goals for yourself. And I think that kind of envelops what this park was meant to be. One final project that doesn't just end up on the endless save list of, or saves list of parks that remain unfinished, but a project that was made in such a way that it's attainable and usable, and might actually be something that gets finished before the sequel comes out. Now, seeing as this is the first video on the channel, or well, not the first video on the channel, but the first Planet Coaster video on the channel, I guess introductions are in order. My name is Joey. I've been building in Planet Coaster ever since it came out, but I've never really done anything with that content creation wise. And with Planet Coaster 2 on the horizon, I thought that would be kind of a cool starting point for me to try and see if I would enjoy the content creator side of things. Now, the title of this video probably says pilot in very big letters, because it genuinely is. This is genuinely me trying out something with YouTube and not really knowing where it's gonna go. Also, I'm just realizing I have to talk for 15 minutes, which is also new for me, so bear with me here. But yeah, it's kind of a, let's call it a starting point before Planet Coaster 2 releases, and for me to see if I want to maybe take it a bit more seriously when that game comes out. Now, as for what I'm actually building in the time-lapse you're watching, I wanted to create a park based on my local area. For those of you that haven't spotted the accent yet, I'm from the Netherlands, and we have one word that probably a lot of you know, that's polder, and I live in a few of those polders. So I was basically imagining what would it be like if, for some odd weird reason in this remote part of the country, some contractor decided, you know what, I'm gonna build a theme park on that land, and I'm gonna call in Joey to do everything for me. It's this weird kind of fantasy I think a lot of us in the Planet Coaster community will have had. Like, what if I got to build a theme park just right outside my door? So I built a kind of a preset. I don't really show it in this video, but I'll try and show it in the next one, if there is going to be a next one. Again, this is a pilot. I kind of built a little layout surrounding what is going to be the park, kind of reminiscent of my local area. It's a lot of dikes surrounded by sparsely grown trees, roads over top of it, and then some like exits that go down and kind of cross over to the other dike, but then on ground level. It's like these little in-between roads that connect everything. I wanted to build something in between one of those polders, basically as if a farmer who had his crops there for ages just wanted to get rid of the land, and basically said, you know what, here, have it, do whatever you want with it. And we decided to build a theme park. Now, this entrance area is really, really, really heavily inspired I would almost call it a rip-off of Port Laguna in Toverland, which I'm not gonna say it's my favorite, but it's one of my favorite areas in a theme park ever. I've not been to a huge amount of theme parks, mostly the ones in the Netherlands, Germany, France, the kind of direct surroundings. But yeah, of the parks I've seen, I think Port Laguna might be one of my favorite places. And I wanted to create something similar to that, this kind of port town with a real magical vibe to it. Now you'll see me struggling with this little round building, and it's not going to be there at the end. It's mostly because I wanted to avoid building the giant centerpiece, because I had no idea what I wanted to do with that. I wanted to create this kind of cityscape almost, kind of skyline, with this giant arch in the middle, which is also why I had the little pirate ship top thing hanging there for a bit. It was just me checking out if I liked the view of that. But yeah, I do have a name for the area yet already. It's going to be called Evershore Harbour, and the story behind it is that it was this little fishing village, or at least shoreside village, where people were really living in fear of the water that surrounded them. There were these like thick fogs rolling in at random, and because of that, sailors and fishermen couldn't see. They would hit the rocks and they would disappear. And then one day, this magical creature, or magical apparition I should say, appeared before the inhabitants above the bay. And she was called Aethera. And Aethera heard the whispers of how the people were fearing the water, and she came to offer them a pact. In exchange for her keeping them safe and blessing the ocean and the waters around them, all they had to do was build a lighthouse for her, in which she could put an everlasting beacon to guide both sailors and fishermen, as well as her kin, to safety across the seas. And that's basically going to be the centerpiece of the village. It's not in this video, but next video I'm going to be building probably the lighthouse in question. And it's really going to be the big, I think Silverred calls it the weenie. It's going to be the weenie of the area, and most likely also the weenie of the entire park. Because it's so central to the story. And I really want to try and make that obvious in this themed area, this story of this port town. Now, I do believe it's quite similar to Toverland's story for Port Laguna. They have a similar thing. I believe it's some sort of elder wand. I was there recently and I found out that, spoiler alert for if you haven't been there for a while, but the show they are currently doing in Port Laguna, the stunt show, free running kind of show, ends with an octopus named Dejoowie saving the entire city. And my girlfriend made it pretty clear to me that that was funny. But yeah, he ends up getting the Elder Wand and dispelling the bad guys, and it's happily ever after. So I wanted to try and get the same sentiment in there, that there's this all-encompassing magical object, but it's a little less Harry Potter and a little more Skyrim, I would say. Maybe I'll make the crystal look like Meridia's beacon. So that's going to be in the tower. Now, as for what I'm doing now, because I'm rambling on and not really talking about what we're seeing on screen, I tried to build this arch for a bit, and I had this vision of I'm not sure what. Oh yeah, I think it's called stained glass, the colorful glass they use in church windows and stuff. To use that in the top framework, but as I was building it, I kind of liked the bare wood, kind of gives it more of a like fishing shantytown vibe than I think stained glass would. So I opted for these windows in here with the colorful rims and to kind of mimic the same feeling. Now the center of the circular part on top gives a great place for the future sign of this park, and that's the next thing I wanted to talk about, because I do not have a name for this park yet. Like I said, Smart Park was mainly just a working title. I might put it in the video title, but the second I get a real name, it's going to go out there. Because I really wanted to ask you to think of names for the park. I think you guys are great at that. I've debated the name Polderpark because of the alliteration, and I think it might be a cool thing as well because it's so quintessentially Dutch. But then again, it's not like there's going to be this giant focus on the polder aspect, so I'm not sure yet. Let me know if you have any ideas for park names, and if not, maybe Polderpark will stick around. So as for the entrance, this is going to be expanded later on. There are going to be more buildings, or facades really, going off to each side of this central building, kind of forming a little plaza next to the parking lot, which you might have spotted over to the left. The parking lot is nothing more than a template as of now. It's just a slab of asphalt with some temporary planters on there and a path around it. I just wanted to get a feeling of the size of things, I guess. As for the size, I want to stick to a pretty small park, but really heavily themed, because well, that's what I would enjoy in a park. Of course, big, scary roller coasters are amazing, but if they're just dumped on a slab of concrete, nobody's gonna have a great time. Look at a lot of the American parks I've seen. I'm much more inclined to go with something like Phantasialand, which is really, really small and tightly packed. But because of that, it also gives them the opportunity to really heavily theme it. So that's kind of the vibe I wanted to go for, at least not the vibe, the style, the premise. I was going into this with the idea of, oh, let's make a like realistic kind of budgety park, as something that I might be able to build if I get a contractor crazy enough in real life. But I strayed away from that real quickly. This entrance building is nothing budget related. This is, in real life, this is probably gonna cost like €1 million on its own. So I decided to just go with like my dream park, or at least something that if I had unlimited money and just could do whatever I wanted, I would build something like this. Now you'll see me struggling with the path here, because I had this idea of kind of making a sort of accent pattern on the path below the entrance. So I tried using these stones, but it just didn't really work out the way I wanted it in my head. And then I realized that not everything has to be custom made. I think it's kind of a sort of unspoken sin to use the default Planet Coaster pieces for what they are used for. But yeah, if it works, it works. So in the end, I just decided to do some pathing. Now, here's me placing it in its semi-final position. There's a big chance this is going to move around a bit. But this is kind of the area I wanted to have it in. The other buildings are probably going to curve around a bit, kind of encompassing this central plaza area. Now, I tried to add some planters. I think they're going to be in there in a bit. Oh, gee, okay, yeah. Okay, quick tangent, because I can't wait for Planet Coaster 2 with the pathing. The amount of times I've had issues with the pathing tool, and I know this is cliche and everybody in the community has said it already, but the amount of issues I've had with the pathing tool, it's crazy, and I can't wait for the new one. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We're not there yet. We're still building this one. As this kind of like final goodbye to Planet Coaster, which as a game has made such an impact on me and a lot of other people. So I really hope I can make one final thing to remember the game by, one final park, make a YouTube series about it, and then move on to the next one. But that's it for today. I guess I'll leave you here with some pretty shots of the entrance building, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.